Everything is being turned into a live action, and I hate it. I like the idea of seeing good video game franchises and anime be turned into live action shows and movies, but most of them have been disasters. Cowboy Bebop, Death Note, Resident Evil, upcoming series like Halo are already having problems. But of course, the next franchise to get the live action treatment is God of War, and journalists are already putting out articles demanding things like Kratos be black. There are already journalists going online talking about how they think that they should rewrite the wrongs of the games with this new show. I have a bunch of things to show off, but before we get into the topic at hand, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted. And of course, if you do really enjoy the videos and the live streams that I create, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon for just $1 a month, or supporting the channel via YouTube memberships. All of the links are in the description, and of course, I do really appreciate all of the support. So I wanted to start off with an article talking about the general details, and then we'll go on to this gamer article. It says Sony's reportedly looking to bring a God of War show to Amazon Prime, and this already has a lot of problems because, as you all know, I'm sure, Amazon has gotten their hands on a lot of franchises lately that they're turning into live action or they're making series about, and they're not sticking to things like source material. But it says Amazon Prime Video is reportedly in talks with Sony to develop a live-action series based on the God of War games, according to a report from Deadline. I personally really like the God of War games. I'm sure a lot of you do as well, and I don't hate the general idea of God of War being made into a live action, and I genuinely think with a big budget, it could be pretty cool. But when I hear it could be done by Amazon, I instantly lose any hope that I originally had. It says the series is expected to be led by Mark Fergus and Hawk Otsby, the executive producers behind The Expanse, and a lot of people like The Expanse. I like The Expanse, so that doesn't sound bad. But then it says as well as Rafi Judkins, the executive producer of The Wheel of Time. Sony Pictures Television and PlayStation Productions will also be involved, Deadline says. Details about the show's premise are still sparse, but if the television adaptation does come to fruition, producers will have a lot of ground to cover. Of course, it talks about how Sony has struck several deals adapting some of its more popular games for TV and film, and if you were looking to watch all of this new content in one place, you're going to be disappointed because you can't. We know that Sony recently signed off on a live-action remake of Twisted Metal on Peacock. I've never cared about Peacock. I've never paid for Peacock. I don't think a lot of people would, even if they brought Twisted Metal to it. I just feel like the service doesn't have enough pull. We know that they're also doing an HBO exclusive adaptation of The Last of Us, and I like the first Last of Us game, so I'd be excited to see what they could do. I know that they have a couple of big names on it, like Bella Ramsey and Pedro Pascal. Maybe a Last of Us show could go pretty well until they get to the second game, of course. And we also know that the Uncharted movie recently released, which got pretty mixed reviews. So far, not so good, I'd say. Now, a big problem I have with this is that it's going to be done by Amazon Prime, and while yes, they do have a lot of money to throw at projects, they also haven't stayed very true to source material on other things like The Wheel of Time. They completely dismissed any lore, they changed it around, they race-swapped and gender-swapped characters, and we know with The Lord of the Rings of Power, that already has a lot of problems as well. They do not have rights to a lot of the source material, so they have to create their own new stories, create their own new characters. We know that they're not focusing on a lot of the lore, like with the female dwarves and the elves. It just seems like a lot of their projects end up disasters, and while I want to stay positive about this, that hopefully the God of War series would be good, Amazon right now doesn't have a good track record. But of course, with news releasing like this, journalists are already demanding that the writers of this show right the wrongs of the games. This is a The Gamer article. It says live action Kratos needs to be black. Already, journalists are demanding that they start changing things around about the lore and about the main character. It says it appears we're getting a God of War TV series as Sony continues to ramp up its film and television production. In a way, it's strange it has taken this long. Sony has been a major player in the cinema space through James Bond, Rocky, Spider-Man, and Ghostbusters, while its video games have coveted movies. Sony's AAA hits are mostly action-oriented, third-person adventures with stoic protagonists and late-game emotional beats, because hey, if it's good enough for Hollywood, it's good enough for gamers. They talk about how they're not exactly sure if God of War needs a TV show, and I can agree to that to a certain extent because there are a lot of video games being turned into movies and TV shows right now, and it's getting a little bit overwhelming. But at the same time, I think if they had the right actors and they put a lot of money into this, a God of War TV show could be pretty awesome. It says that's a debate for another day. Instead, I want to talk about something that definitely shouldn't be a debate, but almost certainly will be. Kratos should be played by a black actor. Of course, instead of talking about things that people want to hear about, like why maybe there shouldn't be a God of War TV show in their opinion, no, they instantly go to something having to do with race. When you look at Kratos, you see a white person, and I don't mean Caucasian or light-skinned, I mean he's literally white. Kratos is covered in ashes, meaning a casual observer might not realize the inherent blackness that has always been attached to Kratos. In the brief scene where his skin turns to ash, it is clearly black underneath. Terrence C. Carlson and Christopher Judge, the two actors to have played Kratos, are black. White is so often seen as the default for everything from casting to medicine to emojis, but with Kratos, our default should be black. Now, I think that it's pretty interesting that they decided to do this, but right underneath this paragraph, they linked a video that shows Kratos' origin story, where he so very clearly is just a tan-skinned man. Kratos in all of the games is white, and I don't just mean Caucasian either. He's literally white, like the article points out. And while yes, his voice actors have been black men, Kratos has never been a black man. If you go to the wiki for Kratos, it clearly specifies he is Greek, and they've shown his original skin tone in cutscenes. He was just a tan-skinned man. Kratos is supposed to look a specific way, and these journalists are hoping that whoever's doing this show will listen to their complaints. It clearly specifies that he's Greek, he's the demigod son of Zeus and Callisto, and neither of them have dark skin either. And to top it all off, if Kratos was supposed to be black, wouldn't his son be? His son isn't dark-skinned at all. If they said, oh hey, he's canonically black, then I'd be like, okay, that could go either way then, but they haven't done that throughout the history of any of the games. This is just one journalist demanding forced diversity where it shouldn't exist right now. We don't know what story this series will tell, and God of War 2018 seems like the natural bet, but then that game does not explain the ashy complexion. I'm sure that they're gonna go with God of War 2018, at least in my opinion. That'd be the smartest thing to do, because of course God of War Ragnarok is coming out this year, at the end of the year. Apparently, unless that gets delayed. So it would seem like they'd go with the story that the games currently are telling to hopefully sell more copies of the games, but I'm sure that no matter what story they tell, they will give us a Kratos origin story. They will give us some information on why he looks the way that he looks. I'm sure they're not just going to completely forget to do that. And to end the article off, they go on to give a few different casting options, and their number one option to play Kratos is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I personally do not think that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson would fit in the role of Kratos. I'm not sure why they didn't instantly think of The Rock, but these are the types of articles that journalists are already putting out, and I'm sure that we're going to see more articles like this in the future. And right now we don't have a lot of information on the show, but I personally am very skeptical about it already. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.